throughout the world, peace has eluded many for various reasons, but there can be peace if there is a conscious effort to achieve this. In studio with us now is Most Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante for a special conversation on peace, religious diversity, and also harmony in the nation when it comes to nation building, ethnic pluralism, and oneness for our focus in this discussion that we're about to have. Most Reverend, thank you for spending some time with us here on Joy News. It's been a while.
Thank you. It has been.
And it's good to see you join us. But quite a lot happening in our sub-region, and that is also trickling down to what we're experiencing in our country itself. But let's start off with this whole tension that's on the rise within the West Africa sub-region. What's your personal reflection on what's going on? And what options do you feel our leaders should be taking in resolving this matter?
It is very sad with respect to what is going on in our sub-region, especially when it comes to the method we choose to change government. It is as if the assumption is that democracy itself doesn't work for us. And so we must adopt a certain approach in order that we'll be able to achieve our objective. Take the case of Niger that you are discussing. If something is going on and it's not good, then I do not think that you will be able to solve the problem through coup d'etat. A lot of people, I've heard people saying all sorts of things that, this is what should happen here. The assumption is that when the military comes in, then
the problem will be solved.
The problem will be solved. But from Ghana's experience, from the time of Kwame Nkrumah, till when we transited from PNDC
into democracy.
Into democracy. We know that if we will be very, very objective in terms of looking at what happened, military interventions did not help us. That's why we keep talking about Kwame Nkrumah. We keep talking about those times. So I think it is not right for us to use, military intervention to change government. But having said that, we must also bear in mind that, the approach of the ECOWAS, that especially what is happening in Niger, we need to restore the presidency by all means possible. I think the emphasis should not be on military intervention. At the end of the day, the military intervention is going to affect the very people who want to help. Nigerians will be killed. And people from our sub-region, military people, will also be killed. The trickling effect is something that we may not be able to address. And that's the reason why we need to take measures. How do we address this situation? By all means, let's not condone what is happening there. Let's not fold our arms and say that what the military people are doing is the right thing. But we should not also you don't use fire to quench fire. You don't use fire to quench fire. Let ECOWAS, the leaders of our sub-region, and our region as a whole, find a better means, sustained means of addressing this issue.
The concern has been raised that looking at the numbers that we're experiencing in terms of the number of West African countries under military control now, the numbers may keep going up if no drastic or radical measure is deployed to tackle this. Could this not be a justification for the deployment of force?
The radical method that we need to use to address that should not be military. What is going to happen is that you're going to end up in a state of nature, the survival of the fittest. Right. Okay? Right now, when I was coming on the social media, I heard that Wagner people have also entered there. There are people who are exploiting the situation. It's very, very funny that, somebody was telling me today, what is wrong with us? We think we don't want the United States, we don't want the Europeans, we don't want the British. But then when we go to the east, when we go to Russia and those places, then we'll be able to solve our problems. I mean, it's funny. There is no way we'll be able to solve our problems by simply thinking that some Western power or Eastern power will solve our problems for us. We must sit and talk. And one of the things that I used to say, my mantra,
right.
Jaw, sit down and talk.
Yeah.
Let's deal with the situations happening and find a better way of solving the problem rather than use, a military solution to problems of this nature. It's not going to solve any problem, especially if you look at what is happening in our sub-region here, as you mentioned, Burkina Faso and all these places. People with vested interest are around.
Yeah.
And once you enter into this, there are civil wars, we are fighting, you give room
to all sorts of things.
To all sorts of people to come in there. And it's not...
The leadership, and by extension, ECOWAS leaders or West African leaders, there's a sharp focus on them now as to looking at or diagnosing the problem of who's at fault. We were speaking to the ECOWAS Commissioner for Political Affairs last week, and he was pointing out to us that, yes, indeed, these leaders acknowledge that there's some sort of collapse in our leadership or institutional capacity. What do you see the problem to be coming from? Is it a leadership crisis that we're facing?
Definitely in our sub-region and in Africa as a whole, you would say that we probably have some kind of leadership crisis. But for me, the issue is not so much the issue of leadership crisis as such. What is happening in the sub-region, it's opportunistic. People seizing the opportunity also to be mentioned as leaders of nations. Look at what happened in Niger. I mean, the very people, Presidential Guard, who
were protecting the president.
Protecting the president, you turn into something else. You must justify why you have done that. And usually people will talk about the economy, people will talk about this. Why is it that it's only in Africa that when there's economic problem, we think that we should use the military to solve the economic problem, and when they come, they don't solve the problem anyway? Why? I mean, the economy is not good, and it's not only Africa that is suffering from these economic problems. African leaders must sit down and see what they can do to solve our economic and political problems and all that. The kind of democracy that we are practicing, which is an imported kind of democracy, do we really understand it? Do we understand people in government and people in opposition? Because in our context, if I'm opposed to you, you are my enemy. In their context, an opposition, if I'm opposed to you, you are not an enemy. I'm simply saying that I have a different view. From yours. Yeah. Can we really talk about diversity of views? Let us sit, let us put all these things together and see, is there something in there that can, really help us solve the problems that we have? African leaders must sit seriously and talk. And when I say African leaders, I'm not just talking about the heads of states and the presidents or the prime ministers or the chairman or whatever, whoever you're going to call them. There are leaders in different places. There is the need for us to sit. Why is it that Africans are serving international bodies? They are excelling.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Africa alone,
there's a problem.
There's a problem. I think these are some of the things that African leaders must really sit and begin to find out. Even if we are able to solve this Niger crisis, we still need to sit down for us to really look into this seriously, and especially in that part, especially in the francophone areas. What is happening there?
We need to take a look at that. But also of concern to us here at Joy News is the possible impact on relatively stable democracies such as Ghana. Ghana is a peaceful country. We all accept that. We all work with that. But looking at what's happening around us, the fear is we need to consolidate what we have and the gains we've made over the years. Do you see that happening? Some frantic effort from all stakeholders, political parties, all actors, just to protect what we have?
It is in the interest of politicians and it is in the interest of Ghanaian citizens to protect what we have. You know, we have lived in this country, and thanks be to God, I have lived in this country throughout. When Kwame Nkrumah was overthrown, I was in my teens, so I saw what happened.
Yeah.
The military comes in, and the first thing they say is that the constitution is withdrawn, parliament is dissolved. So the first casualties will be parliamentarians, the politicians. First casualties will be those in government, those who are now campaigning for leadership. And that's the reason why they should be concerned about the peace, you know, the peace of the country. And we need to consolidate what we have. In our politicking, we should not create the situation, the condition for the possibility of, you know, arousing the military to come in. There are people who, because they are not in power, or because they are seeking for power, might wish that the military, that there should be military intervention somewhere. And let me also say to those of us on the streets, military intervention doesn't solve your problem. We have lived in this country from Kwame Nkrumah's time until now. Military interventions have rather wreaked havoc. You're going to sleep very, very early. They're going to rule you by decrees. Nobody is going to discuss anything. You cannot question them and all that. We need to maintain what we have, democracy. I would rather want to go for democracy, you know, in difficulty, than to go for military rule in the so-called peace that we have. But I think Africa should also look at the type of democracy that we are operating. Maybe we need benevolent dictatorship. Somehow.
That's a controversial one. When it comes up, people are like, can we really ever get someone like that, by the way? Do you believe we can get someone like
Kigali. I mean, you know, Rwanda, you have a strong man there. And we talk a lot about Rwanda, don't we?
Yeah, we make
because we have a strong man who is able to put his foot down. We need leaders who will be able to say that these people should not trade here. We want to move their stuff because it doesn't help the country. And they are not thinking about, you know, being elected or re-elected.
Or politically correct.
That's right. You know, you see, what happens in our country is that as soon as I come in power, I'm not thinking about what to do now. I'm thinking about how to retain power the next time. So we are always doing politics. We are not governing. You know, the governance system. Govern. Do things and let people damn you next time. Let them tell you that we are not going to vote for you. But do the right thing.
If we're to sustain what we've made, the gains we've made over the years, there's also the need for other actors to come on board. You were speaking about the political leadership, but there are so many factors that can, you know, either maintain or jeopardize the peace that we have. And we also need to look in your direction, Most Reverend, you know, clergymen and those who are religious people. Some pronouncements they make, you agree, have the tendency of destabilizing our peace.
Definitely. I mean, what kind of pronouncement are we talking about? People will be prophetic and they will be objective in their assessment of things. And it's not going to be like, taking sides. There shouldn't be a problem with that. But I quite agree with you that sometimes, religion can become a factor in terms of the destabilization of peace in a country. But it is not religion that is a factor. It is the people who are practicing the religion themselves. And the people who are practicing the religion are no different from Ghanaians. They are also Ghanaians. But I think it is important that we allow our religious leanings to inform our politicking, to inform the kinds of things that we do, to inform our commitment to the nation called Ghana and do things that will bring maintain peace.
We'll be dealing with the issue of a youth bulge in a few years to come. In fact, it's already here for those who are watching the figures and who are worried about how young people are left with no job opportunities or, employment opportunities either from government or the private sector. Is that not of concern to you as well, looking at it, that this may threaten, attempts to build peace? Because when you talk to the youth, they're looking for opportunity, but they can't find any on the streets out there.
Look, I'm on record to have said that unemployment is a threat to peace. When young people have no jobs to do, it's a threat to peace. But we also need to sit back and ask ourselves, how do we solve the unemployment situation? Is it through violence? Is it through military takeovers? Would that really help us solve the problems that we have? Now, take the case of young people who are hungry because they're not getting the right kind of meal that should be given to them. So they go to the school's cafeteria and start breaking pots, destroying the whole place. Would that put bread on the table for them? So I think we need to address this situation, but we need to use our gumption also when we are addressing the situation. I know that the hungry man is an angry man, but for God's sake, don't be hungry and lose your senses. But find ways and means, better ways and means of solving these kinds of problems. How do we do it? Creating the enabling environment. But if the environment is not enabling, it becomes very, very difficult for private.
I was just about touching on that because the impression is created as though the Ghanaian youth is lazy.
Yes.
We've heard that rhetoric from some people before.
But if the environment, that enabling environment is not there, it becomes an issue. I mean, when I was young, this was bandied around. The young people should go back to their land. When we were young, that's what they were telling us.
Agriculture, you mean?
But how do I go to the land when you've not given me the right thing? You give me cutlass and you say go to the land. What am I going to do? Subsistence farming. So we need to really talk about, how are we creating the situation for young people to go there? Even land tenure system in the country becomes an issue. How do I even get a land? Where are the land banks? How does the government come in to help in this situation? The machinery that will enable me so that if I should go for a land, is it possible for me to go somewhere for them to bring in machines that will help me so that after I've done the cultivation, I'll be able even to service my debt? These are the sort of things that we need to hear. And our parliamentarians and the government should be thinking about these kinds of things. That's what you say, creating the enabling environment. Creating the enabling environment does not necessarily mean that, our policy is that government doesn't come in. It is only the private sector that should come in. The private sector will only come in partnership with the government.
I see. And on the issue about next year and what we're expecting as a nation, we know that we're heading into the election period. The processes have started. Even this year where we're seeing the governing side looking for their leader. I think the opposition party, the NDC, has done that. But the rhetoric, as you can see, is pointing to the fact that these two political parties have a lot at stake for them. The governing side says, okay, we want to break the eight. The opposition says, you need to go because you haven't performed. And in all of this, the rhetoric hasn't been too healthy. I'm sure you've been monitoring, the posture from all of these political parties and the fact that there seemed to be a breakdown in that free, cordial spirit that these two political parties and the Electoral Commission would usually enjoy. What's your recommendation on how we can tackle this?
Have we come to that yet? Because as far as I'm concerned, I think right now we're dealing with internal politics, aren't we? I call it intra-politics because what is happening is that in the case of the NPP, they are looking for who is going to be their flag bearer.
Yes.
And in some cases, some people have gone overboard in terms of what they have said about others. I will advise them to be very careful. Because, I mean, so what happens if you don't get it and that person gets it? What? Does that mean that you are not going to be a member of your party? So I'll humbly plead with them. Just market yourself. Tell us what you have. Why should we consider you should be better than simply, throwing tantrums and insulting other people and all that? I don't think they've gone too much to that extent. But sometimes the followers, the people who seem to be following their leaders, market your leader. Let me know why you think your leader is the right person. And if you convince me enough, maybe I'll vote for your leader. If I'm a delegate, all right? But in terms of the two political parties, they should know that they are there for the nation Ghana. Right. Their politics should not throw this nation into conflict situation. They should do all they can. Again, the marketing of ideas comes in here. The NDC believes that they've been in power before. They believe they have been able to do a number of things, and they believe that they still have a lot that they can do. Let them talk about that. Let the MPP do the same thing. Why you think we should allow you to break the 8? All right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's been 8, 8, 8, 8. But it's not written anywhere. The Constitution doesn't say that. So if you're going to break the 8, convince me. Convince your voters. Market yourself. Tell us why we should retain you. Or let the others also tell us why we should bring them in. I mean, it's we are simply sharing ideas.
Yes, yeah.
You are selling, I'm selling, I'm marketing, you are marketing. It's not an insult, But what if it becomes like I'm insulting you, you are insulting me, because you think that by doing that, then you'll be able to get my vote. A lot of Ghanaians are becoming,
very discerning.
Very discerning.
The statement you are making even reminds us of your tenure as, of course, chairman of the Peace Council, obviously. That institution, we need to talk about it now, the state in which you find it and how crucial that institution will be going forward in maintaining the peace that we have, and also ensuring that that is the case before, during and after our national elections. Do you see the Peace Council in a much more stronger position in facilitating peace across the country?
The Peace Council is doing a lot. A lot of people think that the activity of the Peace Council is simply coming out with statements and all that. And so if they are not talking, they are not doing anything. Yeah. But the Peace Council's mandate that is given is not simply to do that. It's to ensure, it's to maintain, create conditions for, peaceful coexistence and all that. Now, they, in cooperation with other, institutions, have come up with books that they have written on how to try as much as possible to address conflict situations and all that. They are working underground. They are meeting the media. They are doing all sorts of things. So I think the Peace Council is up to it. My only concern is that if anybody thinks that Peace Council has peace in their pocket, that they are the ones who will be able to put it here for you, and so if there is no peace, it means the Peace Council is not working. That person is joking. The Peace Council is there to help all of us to understand that it is better to choose peace than war. Okay?
Yeah.
And they are doing the best that they can. And I have no reason. I mean, I live in Kumasi now. And every Friday, GBC is a garden city.
Okay, yeah.
they have a program educating people on all sorts of issues. They're dealing with chieftaincy situations. They're dealing with, cases that have to do with the heads people and the farmers and so on. These are things that they do. Unfortunately, these are not things that catch the eyes of the media. It's now election is coming, so the focus is going to be on them because it's as if everything must be election. But the reason why people do violence because they are violent. And we need to help them not to be violent so that they will not see violence as an option in solving any problem. And that's what the Peace Council seeks to do.
Okay, Reverend, we'll be wrapping up shortly. A number of issues that are happening in terms of national development has got to do with the conversation on corruption, and that has come up because of some recent developments that we've seen with the resignation of one of the ministers of state. The feeling is that the political class must, and as you were indicating, govern and not necessarily just respond to, their political sentiments. How can political leaders, in your view, tilt towards responding much more to the feeling and aspirations of their people?
I have always said that who is a parliamentarian? A parliamentarian is not honorable so and so. You don't go to parliament because you want to be called an honorable person. A parliamentarian is a representative of a constituency. You may have gone to parliament on a particular political party ticket, on a ticket of a particular political party. But you're a parliamentarian representing a multi-party constituency, people who may not have even voted for you. You are their MP. And it is important that we understand what it means to be an MP, representative of a group of people. Of course, there are a lot of people who are saying, is this legislation? Our job is to pass legislation. Fine. It is true, the core responsibility is to do that. But they are also there representing their constituents. And they are there to speak the voice of the constituents. A parliamentarian must interact with his own people and know their feelings and pains. And that's the reason why they also give them some kind of some money.
Yeah.
Of course, I pity them. The kind of money that is given to them and what is expected of them it's neither here nor there. But it's their fault too, because if they want to go to parliament, they give the promises. Let me say to politicians, stop giving us promises that you cannot deliver. But let the people understand what it means while you are seeking their mandate, the fact that you are in partnership with them to build. Don't just get there and then hang around your gate, beware of dogs. Get to the people and let them know. Now that you are seeking their mandate, don't go there and promise them moon. I was telling somebody, if somebody tells you that I'm going to pipe the sea to Ashanti region, and say he's going to bring us, the sea.
But it's practically
impossible. And where is he going to get the money to do all that? No. So politicians, please stop giving us promises that you cannot deliver. Let's be realistic enough in terms of what it is that we want to do. And when realism sets in, I believe that we will be able to, people will be educated. We will understand what it means. We will understand what it means to cooperate with your parliamentarian or your government in terms of, addressing the problems that we have.
Well, Mr. Reverend, your latest, I don't know if it's the latest as we should call it, you're projecting that, but probably we should look at it a bit more closely. Probably we show that to the camera so we get it. This is In Search of Peace, Harmony Through Religious Diversity. It's a new book from Most Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante. You see that on the screens. So, Prof, just walk us through what's in this book, actually.
You know, I mean, this is a big house, a media house. And in this media house, you have Christians, you have non-Christians, and we are working with them. You know, I decided to come up with this to let us know that what is our national identity when we talk about our national identity. Our national identity is defined by two things: ethnicity, diverse ethnicity, diverse spirituality or religious commitments. But we are one. Unfortunately, sometimes we have allowed our diversity to destroy the oneness that we have. Okay? Yeah. Something that is one, Ghana is a multi-ethnic, multi-religious country. And thanks be to God, we have been able to maintain some kind of peace and relationship. I'm trying to encourage that we do that. And if you look at what I have sought to do, right? I've talked about religion as a resource for peace and social development. I've looked at religion and morality, dimensions of religious expressions. And I have, as a result of that, in order to encourage what I call tolerance, done summaries of the various religions that I know. What do we share in common? Yeah. What are the things that we do not share in common? And even in situations when I talk about the need to accept others, I'm not looking at the things we share in common. Even in the context of the things that we do not share in common. I tolerate you. Yeah. I may not agree with you, but I tolerate you because you have the right to hold that kind of view. All I'm trying to suggest here is that religious, peace and harmony could be obtained through religious diversity.
And since you're bringing this up, I'm just wondering if in that book we'll find an answer to why we seem to have that cordiality between Christianity and the Muslim community here in Ghana. Because our situation is quite unique. Something different from what you find across.
Let me tell you something that happened. When I was at the Peace Council as chair, General Obasanjo came to this country and he visited us. At that time, the office was nothing to write home about. We were so worried that he was coming to visit us in that place. But he came. And when he came, Christians and non-Christian, Muslims, our brothers from the other side, who were together, and even traditional religions. Yes. And we were, discussing issues amicably. And he said to me, Ghanaians, how are you able to do this? And then I told him this. I said, when you go to my house is an ecumenical house. Look, some of my relatives are Muslims. And people are shocked to know that the chief imam, Kumasi,
wow,
is a relative of mine.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And in that home, you have Muslims, you have Protestants, you have Catholics, you have Charismatics, you have what have you, and you have traditional religionists. But we don't meet there on the basis of our religion. We meet there as people, as human beings, as brothers and sisters. So let's see beyond the tangible. And, beyond the worship, beyond the kinds of things that we do. Allow me to share faith. Don't take me as an enemy. Trying to share my faith with you. Take it or leave it. But see me as a brother. These are some of the things that we need to encourage. And we do that in Ghana because our homes are ecumenical homes.
And in fact, if you want to find out more, there's a lot in that book that Most Reverend is holding in his hands. How can people get to have a copy of the book?
In fact, I'm launching this book on the 13th of August. Okay. It's August. The Ebenezer Methodist Community 20. Just after Abattoir. Right. You come from, from the Abattoir, you come to Presbyterian Church. There's a Methodist church there. That's where this book is being launched. Right. And I want to entreat all friends and all, those who have had the opportunity to look at it. Please come. Yep. And then, hear what is in there. The foreword was written by Bishop Sapon.
Wow.
And it's not a joke.
It's a big man's book. Yes. for everybody, actually.
I'm saying that there can be no people in the world
wow.
without peace among the religions. There can be no peace in the world without peace among religions.
Yeah.
And this book submits that the ability to appreciate spiritual values, beliefs, and practices which are different from one's own is a condition for the possibility of sympathetic and empathetic appreciation or understanding of other religions and of living in peace.
So it's all about peace, and Most Reverend stands for peace. That's all he's done throughout his life, and you need to celebrate him by being there when this book is being launched. We will definitely here at Joy News supports that process. So we're grateful, Most Reverend, for joining us.
I'll invite you to come there.
Yes, we should be there as well.
Joy, come there.
Yes, definitely.
And, after the launch, the book will be available at the Methodist Book Depot.
Oh, so anyone at all could just go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you
for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And also, we're looking at the second clinic of the EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair, which concludes with some excitement at the West Hills Mall. Vendors are already looking forward to additional 3 fairs in Tema, Takrady, and Kumasi. Joy News' Carlos Kaloni was there and comes through with this report.
Sponsored by EcoBank and Cities and Habitat, vendors participating in the 2023 EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair say the second mini clinic ranks among the most successful in terms of attendance.
This fair has given us so much exposure because not many people knew of Blue Rose, but due to this fair, we've had a lot of people coming to know Blue Rose Limited, the properties we have available for sale, where our sites are located, and then our contact numbers. So this fair has really been very, very beneficial to us because that giving us the needed exposure to outdoor properties to the general public.
I must say, we coming to the West or the West Hills Mall has been a great experience, and as usual, we have a number of jobs in the West, but I think we also need to get close to our people. Like you rightly asked, if we have an office here, we don't have an office, but we have a number of jobs or projects around. So it's good. We also thought we should also get close to our people, get to know what their experiences have been, and then what we look forward to doing for them in the coming days or coming years. So I must say we are impressed. I'm impressed with the participation or with the numbers so far.
For them, the exposure the fair offers is unparalleled.
I think, well, first of all, we joined Joy FM because we believe them to be an exceptional company in terms of media promotion. And the team that we have met over the last 9 months or so have been very helpful in advising us how best to hit our target markets. So it's not just about exposure, it's about targeted exposure. And we now have a greater sense of how to put our name out there in a way that people will want to buy from us. They understand that we provide high quality and good value for money, and that's why I think multimedia have helped us to promote. Probably all around the country, not just Accra, probably all over the country.
Head of Marketing at the Multimedia Group Limited, David Maxfoga, said, based on the success talked at the 2 mini clinics, management of Joy News have decided to extend the fair to other parts of the country.
The good thing is that this year we want to give it a national appeal. And so based on the success of the 2 mini clinics or 2 mini fairs, the Achimota one and this one, we have decided to expand it, and so we'll go and do one in Tema, end of August or first week in September, and then we'll do the second one in Takrady, and then we'll come back in November for the grand one. So we are changing it this year based on the success of the 2 clinics we've had so far. So, and then we'll give it that national appeal. This year we're going to go to the Western region to make sure that we cover the Golden Triangle, Accra, Kumasi, Takrady. We are going to be in Kumasi in October, and then we'll come back to Accra for the grand one in November.
Reacting to these, vendors and patrons believe the decision is in the right direction.
It will be interesting. I think this will be our first time in Tema and Takrady. Tema is developing very fast, so that is the place to be. So we look forward to Tema. I'm really excited to go to Tema. And Takrady, I can't wait to be in Takoradi. The sea breeze, the environment, Takoradi is the place to be. So see you in Takoradi and Tema.
Oh, I think it's very exciting. I mean, for the past few years that we've been here, it's always been centered in Accra, and people traveling all the way from Tema, as you said. You get calls from people from other regions. So we take in the Habitat Fair there, I think is an amazing thing.
No, it's actually quite enlightening because we know that Accra is the business hub for the whole of Ghana, yes? That doesn't mean that these up-and-coming cities won't eventually become good marketplaces for business. So you start early, you tap into the market, you create promotion. In a few years, it will benefit everybody who's involved.
Max Fuga urged prospective vendors to grab the opportunity.
There's only one-stop shop for everything housing, and that is the Joy News Habitat Fair. And so, if you are dreaming of to own a home, whether you dreaming of acquiring a property, whatever you are thinking of, as long as it is so far as it has to do with home ownership, the place to be is the Joy News Habitat Fair. So make a date with us. From next week, we'll be communicating the details. We'll be in Tema, we'll be in Kumasi, we'll be in Takoradi, and we'll be back here in Accra for the big one.
Some patrons of the second clinic expressed their anticipation for the main event.
Well, we are trusting that the main event will be great. Things have been quite slow, but we hope that in November things would have picked up, and then sure, many people will come to inquire and go ahead to purchase.
The EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair provides a unified platform for both potential homeowners and stakeholders in the housing sector to help alleviate the country's 1.8 million housing deficit. Visit the mini clinics in Tema, Takoradi, and Kumasi, and the main event in November. Carlos Caloni reporting for Joy News from West Hills Mall.
And now it took them 16 days to make a journey of 10,000 kilometers nautic from Accra through various countries until arriving in England on Sunday. What an incredible feat aimed at raising funds to help deal with poor infrastructure in our schools. But now we're asking that question: how was the journey and how is the charity going to work? Well, joining us is the leader of that group that took on that very interesting journey. Akufo-Addo Mensah is joining us via Zoom. Thank you, sir, for spending some time with us. Congratulations, first of all. First, tell us how the entire trip went for you as a group.
Well, thank you for speaking to us, but I'd want to say I am not the leader of the group. I am a member of the group. When it comes to leadership, I think we consider Teddy Kwabena-Prepra as our leader. He's one of the conveners, and he's one of the people who has been very instrumental in seeing us through to this place. The journey has been awesome. It's been a wonderful experience. The reception with which the world has received this is humbling, and the reception we got on entering England yesterday is unforgettable. We are humbled, we are grateful, we are getting a lot of support. Since yesterday, we've noticed that contributions towards the fund is increasing, and it's exciting to see.
I see. I'm just wondering what the way back will be like. Are you driving back?
We are not driving back, unfortunately. We are coming back by air.
Oh, okay, interesting. So let's talk then about the next phase of this project. You indicated to the world that you wanted to use this to raise awareness and to raise more funds to help deprived schools. How's that going to work now that you've completed this journey?
Okay, our initial push is to raise 100,000 to help a charity called Edu Sports. They've established over 60 libraries in Ghana and communities in the rural areas. And we are hoping that this money will help digitize these libraries. These libraries were created by the charity and have been given to the communities to run. So they are community-run libraries. But we're in a digital age. So we are trying to introduce digitization into these labs so that these children will have access to internet, access to computers, access to tablets, and have real-time information to grow.
I see. And would you say that you are far advanced with the plan and that everything is on course as you describe it?
Well, the plans by the charity is on course. It's the money that we are raising that is behind schedule. We're hoping that would have at least crossed half of our target by now. But as of now, we haven't. But we are buoyant and very, very hopeful because on this trip, myself, Kwadwo Saka, and Teddy, and Kwame Pepra, who are into real estate, agreed to put up 20 of our houses at a discounted rate so that while here, we'll try and sell them. And out of that, we have agreed to make a contribution of $40,000 to Edu Sports. It is our ardent hope that that will go a long way to help in our bid to raise the 100,000.
And there's this big question about the motivation. Where is it coming from?
Well, for the motivation, we're a bunch of hardworking young men who love to drive and love to travel. We are known for adventure. We have climbed Akufo-Addo. Some of us have climbed the Kilimanjaro. We have driven across West Africa a couple of times. We have circled Ghana on countless occasions. So it's a situation of we are doing something that we love to do, we enjoy doing, and while doing it, we are using it to promote a good cause.
I see. It's such a great pleasure to be a hard-working young man. But thank you, Akufo-Addo, for joining us here on the Joy News channel. And that's all we have for you in this package. I am blessed to go and log on to myjoyonline.com. Lots of stories there for you. Next is Let's Talk Showbiz, but that will be after this break. Please stay. Thanks for watching.